All right, folks, if anybody's out there, I'm just starting it a little bit early here just so I can get a few other streams going. All right, getting comments set up. And we're about ready to rock and roll. It's going to be a little time here. See what I got. Close down a few windows, get ready to go. I'm a little early. This is going to be good. I've been trying to go off a little too late sometimes. All right. So, not sure if anybody's watching yet. We're not going to start cooking here for a little while. Let me move that. Make sure I can see myself over here. Hey, looks like I got some, maybe got some people watching. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I got some people that are kind of checking in. Excellent. Looks great. Let me go over there. Try this. I got one more place I want to check. Maybe not. Okay. This is where I want to be. Beautiful. I got the right screen up. Okay. Let me shut this guy down. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We're still a little bit early, guys. Hey, let's just chat for a little while. If you don't know me, I'm Chef Dave Nelson. I don't know if I can call myself a chef. I'm not really running a kitchen outside of this little thing right here. I'm in quarantine like a lot of people. Got locked out of my jobs a few months back, and I do culinary lessons here, right? I've got tons and tons of them here on YouTube, and I'm basically laying down my old culinary school lectures. Okay, I've been teaching for about 15 years, and today we're going to be talking about salad dressings. That's one of the lectures I would lay down in my classes, and so that's what you're going to hear in a little bit. Okay, if you've never heard about me or heard my name before, there's probably a reason for that. I'm just one of the nameless, faceless guys that's been in the back of kitchens for years and years, working in all sorts of situations across the country. And I have basically just done everything, you know. I'm not the fantastic chef or anything. I've just made all the mistakes and I've done all the jobs, and I know where the bodies are all buried out there. And that's what I talk about in my classes. As I said, about 15 years ago, I semi-retired. I've been just kind of teaching ever since then, less cooking food for the masses and more talking about it. And I really love it. And I think you'll see that. I think you'll see it comes through. Okay. Heck, another thing, we're still a few minutes off. Another thing to kind of talk about is last couple of days, I have not placed people in the city and in and around the city of Vacaville in Northern California here. Our fires are just raging. The sky is on fire. It's literally on fire. And so I've been going out there and just throwing my feeble skills in as times every year around in Northern California when the fires start up. I've been kind of doing my small bit helping feed people, and these guys are awesome. It seems to me, from what I can see, every dollar they bring in is going to a good cause, right? As far as I'm concerned, they need to nominate this organization for a Nobel Peace Prize. And as I said, if you guys would like to help, you can go to worldcentralkitchen.org and just bust open the wallet and lay down some cash. I might even start a little GoFundMe here. We are expecting more lightning strikes and things like that, so we very well could see more of these fires, and these people are doing great work every single day. If you are a kitchen person, even if you're just a borderline kitchen person, you can get in those kitchens and help those guys. There's lots of dish outs where you're just setting things on plates, right? And you know, you work clean and it's very, very nice. And there's a lot you can do. And there's like salads to make and all sorts of things, right? So again, check out worldcentralkitchen.org. Sign up for a shift, or just crack the wallet open and donate some money to those guys. That's what I've been doing for the last couple of days. I'm going to go back tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact, if anybody wants to join me out there. Okay, so other than that, I think it's about time. Let me get one more little thing here. I did a fermentation class a few weeks back, and I'm drinking the country wine that I made in that class. It's very, very low alcohol. It's probably about 2 or 3%. And it's just got a little sweetness to it, just the tiniest bit of effervescence. And it was made from peaches, so it's got a great peachy taste, okay? And so that's what I'm kind of sipping on today. It's in a borrowed bottle. It's very low tech around here, guys, but some delicious country wine that I made during one of these quarantine kitchen classes. Just noticed a cabinet open there. All right, so you guys are with me. We can start this class, okay? This one today, this is essential kitchen knowledge, okay? What we are talking about is emulsions, and I keep throwing that word around, okay? So emulsions, take control of your emulsions. What is an emulsion? When I'm talking about an emulsion in the kitchen, a lot of the time, there are different kinds of emulsions. I'm not gonna go down that road, but a lot of the time, it is just a homogenous mixture of two incompatible liquids. Oil and water don't mix, right? But if we use some cool technique and maybe a little trick here and there that's up our sleeve, we can get oil and water to blend into a creamy, homogeneous mixture. And when you think about it, this is exactly what mayonnaise is. Mayonnaise isn't oil and water, but it's oil and vinegar of a very water-like substance, okay? And so when you're talking about any mayonnaise, that's an emulsion. It's a homogeneous mixture of two incompatible liquids, and that's what we're talking about today. We're gonna be looking at some different emulsions today. I'm gonna be looking at a temporary emulsion. It's a vinaigrette. Let me give you an example, okay? We have like a grocery store product, vinaigrette here. Tessie Mae's organic green goddess, okay? And what I wanted to point out here is you can see the separation of the oil and vinegar in there, right? That separation is the oil phase. Oil always floats on top of water, and then you got the vinegar phase on the bottom, or really the water phase, if you will. Just because it's tangy, it's still, you know, as far as science is concerned and all the magnets in there, that's water, okay, as far as an emulsion goes. So this is kind of important because in a lot of our preparations, we're looking to incorporate, you know, we might have a preparation that's kind of on the oily side, and we want to incorporate acid to kind of break up that fattiness. This is going to be a big topic today, this fat acid balance, okay? And so we are kind of doing a lot of tasting as we do this, and we are bringing together this idea of flavor balance to kind of balance. Think of a teeter-totter, you know, it's acid on one side, maybe oil on the other, or oil and vinegar, if you will, okay? And as we're making these vinaigrettes, as you are making them at home, what you want to do is a lot of tasting, and you're going to ask yourself, hey, is it more over on the acid side? Is it more over on the oil side? Is it just a bunch of oil on my palate and it's all fatty and not doing anything? Hey, I can add a little more acid. I can bring that, or vinegar, right? I can bring that into balance. That's what I want to kind of talk about with our discussion today. In culinary school, that was always, you know, we were talking about emulsions, but this was very, very early on in the game when people are just starting out in the kitchens. And this was an excellent opportunity to talk about flavor balance, okay? So what I'm going to be doing is talking about 3 different styles of emulsions today. I'm going to do just, I kind of started talking about it, a temporary emulsion where I'm just going to blend oil and vinegar together. I'm going to maybe add a little mustard or something like that. That'll kind of help things hold together a little bit. And I'm also going to use physical agitation. And by that, I mean, I am going to use a blender for this one. Oftentimes when we're doing an emulsion, we're doing it in a bowl with a whisk in culinary school. I'm going to do that in the second dressing we're going to see today. But this simple vinaigrette, if I want it to be nice and creamy, I really do want to use a blender. And I'm just going to use one of those little hand blenders. I always use this motion when I'm talking about a hand blender. It's nothing weird. It's just the way I use a hand blender. Okay, you'll see that very shortly. Next dressing that we're going to be talking about, I'm just going to make a creamy style dressing, right? It could be blue cheese, it could be ranch, it could be any, you know, it could be sriracha dressing, right? Or whatever, wherever you want to take it. But they're essentially a mayonnaise blended with sour cream or a yogurt or a creme fraiche or something like that. And then you adjust it out with maybe milk or cream or even water, quite frankly. I'm awfully fond of water. I'm not really wanting to dump extra protein, things that might curdle into the mix when I'm making these dressings. So I tend to adjust with water and acid. That's another thing about these creamy dressings I'm really big on is that acid fat balance. And so even like a blue cheese dressing, I'm not into it, or a ranch, I'm not into it unless it's tangy, right? Even the label of the ranch dressing even says it, right? Tangy ranch dressing. So you're looking for acidity every time. Mayonnaise, same thing. You want a little acidity there, breaking up that fat on your palate, because it's all fat. These creamy dressings are all fat and sour cream and all that stuff, right? So that's going to be kind of the topic of conversation in that second one. I'm going to kind of make a mayonnaise in a bowl. I have made a mayonnaise before. If you guys saw the famous, probably the greatest show I've ever done, egg salad soiree, easily my most popular, thousands and thousands of views on that one. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But that's another mayonnaise class. I broke down a mayonnaise there. I'm just going to do it again in this one because it kind of fits with the dressings I'm going to do. Once I get the mayonnaise done, hey, I add a few other little shingalingas in there, and I'm going to have a blue cheese dressing, or I add some herbs and spices, and I got a ranch dressing. I can take this any direction I want to go. Let me get another sip here. Looks like a couple people are watching. Thanks for joining, guys. This is Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour, and I am laying down some culinary arts technique in here, and I'm having fun doing it during the quarantine. I hope you guys are enjoying. Hope you guys are watching, and I hope you guys will take the time to subscribe if you get a chance. All right. Now, let's talk about the third dressing. I'm going to go ahead and make a Caesar dressing for my third dressing. The reason I'm doing that is because you almost never see anybody making a Caesar dressing at home. You only see them in restaurants, or you'll see that weird bottled stuff in the grocery store. And that bottled stuff in the grocery store, I've never had anything in a bottle at the grocery store that tastes anything like a true Caesar dressing that I might experience in a restaurant. Now, the Caesar dressing I'm going to do today is not going to be that classic Caesar that you would, a snooty French waiter would be doing table side on a fancy solid gold card or something like that, right? This Caesar dressing is going to be more like you would see in a restaurant, where I'm going to make like, a cup and a half or 2 cups of a Caesar dressing that I can toss on a salad and sell, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about. This is an excellent opportunity, again, to talk about flavor balance, this Caesar dressing. There's going to be 5 big flavors in a Caesar dressing that I usually look at. I'm sure you could probably pick them out too if you're familiar with Caesar dressing. It's going to be garlic, first of all, right? Lemon, Caesar dressing, lemon, garlic, anchovy. Caesar dressing is famous for having anchovy in there. Parmesan cheese is another big flavor in there. And finally, black pepper. And when I make this dressing, the conversation will be, do I taste all of these flavors? Is any one flavor, like is the garlic just overpowering everything? I need to start playing with this and kind of bring all of these flavors out there before it's ready to rock. And if I don't have those 5 flavors, hey, it just doesn't taste like a Caesar salad to me. This conversation, again, was one I would have with early culinary students that were wondering, or they would say things like, hey, chef, I've never tasted anything like a Caesar dressing before. What should it taste like? Hey, I break it down in like that. Hey, you're looking for these flavors and making sure that you're tasting each one of them and trying to bring them into balance. And this one's going to be like a 5-sided teeter-totter, trying to bring all those flavors into balance. But that's what we're going to do. And it's what cooks do in the back of the house every day. And it's what you're going to see. It's totally easy stuff. It's what you can totally do in your house, super easy stuff. So here it is again, guys, Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour. Looks like Evan's out there. Hey, looking good. Let's see, looking forward to why I've made so many mayo ingredients. So breaking mayo, hey, we need to talk about that, right? How to keep mayos from breaking, or if a mayonnaise breaks, what do? We can talk about that as well. So Nostrovia, Prost, cheers, guys. Thanks for joining me for another Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour. And this is going to be a good one, okay? We are laying down essential kitchen knowledge. It's good stuff. Let me get rid of this chair, and we're going to get flowing here. Looks like everybody can hear me, and so we will just keep right on rolling here. I should say I had to wear a hat today. My quarantine hair is just getting bigger and bigger, so I've just been stuffing it all underneath the hat, and you don't even want to see what's going on under there. So I got my I'm just doing a silly hat today. okay? And so that's the theme of the show, okay? Let me just move a few things around. I'm gonna lay down some of the ingredients I want for our first vinaigrette, okay? We're gonna do a very, very simple vinaigrette. And so it's gonna look like this. I'm gonna mince up a little bit of red onion. I'm gonna work in a little bit of the star of the show, actually. This is peach vinegar. This peachy wine that I'm drinking, by the way, you can kind of see it in there. It's pink, okay? This peachy wine is what I made first, and then I saved that mash, and I let that ferment a little bit more. I let bacteria get into it, and it created an acidic environment. I created a peach vinegar, and this is going to be my base vinegar for my vinaigrette today, okay? It doesn't matter which vinegar you're using as long as you like the flavor of it. I could take this any direction I want to go. I could use a simple rice wine vinegar and a drop of sesame oil and then make a vinaigrette out of that, maybe a little sweetness to it. I could use a balsamic vinegar, right? I tend to avoid balsamic vinegar because it turns my dressings brown. It's just such an ugly color, but I'll make them. I mean, it tastes really good. It's just, I don't like that color of that dressing very often. But apple cider vinegar, you know, it just goes on and on and on. So peach vinegar, this is one that I made in my fermentation class about 3 weeks ago, okay? So that's gonna be another ingredient, vinegar. I am going to have oil, of course, so oil, vinegar, a little bit of red onion. I'm gonna do a tiny drop of Dijon mustard. And what this Dijon mustard is gonna do is it's gonna help my oil and my water phase, my vinegar, come together, okay? It's just one of those ingredients. It contains what we call lecithin, and that lecithin is an emulsifier. It's gonna bring them together, it's crazy glue for the oil and vinegar, okay? And so that's what we're gonna be using for that. And let's see, I also might just blend in a tiny, I'm not gonna throw any garlic in there. I'm just gonna go for black pepper, salt, and the big secret ingredient at the end is I've got some fresh thyme, okay? So it's gonna be peachy thyme vinaigrette is what I'm gonna call it. I love coming up with fun names. It's one of my favorite things to do, okay? So peachy thyme vinaigrette. And what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients, 7 if you want to count salt and pepper, you know, otherwise it's 5 ingredients plus salt and pepper, okay? It doesn't get much easier than that. So the first thing I need to do is kind of mince up this red onion. So I'm going to scooch all this stuff out of the way again, throw down a cutting board, and we're going to get started, okay? Let's get this done again. Oh, there's another ingredient, honey. I forgot to mention that in that last roundup. So all I have to do is mince up a little bit of red onion here, but I want to make a little extra red onion because I'm going to use red onion in my blue cheese dressing. I like a little bit of texture in my blue cheese dressing. It's delicious. Okay, so I'm going to throw down a little rubber mat. Let you guys watch this. And I will throw down a cutting board. And that's not going to slide around. I've got a knife. Might as well show you this, okay? I'm gonna steel my blade. I'm doing even strokes. You can kind of see the angle there. Try and get that, there it is. See that angle, long, smooth strokes. I'm using the whole blade. I'm using the whole steel. And I'm gonna kick that up to the curb. I'm gonna give that a little wipe and we're gonna mince some onion up, okay? I want enough onion for 2 dressings and I'm just making a little bit of dressing, okay? Now, I got this humongous onion just recently and so I've just been cutting sections off of this thing. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep this last section for pretty juliennes and I'm gonna take the center section and work with that because I'm just mincing up onion here, okay? This doesn't have to be pretty. I'll get rid of that big chunk. And I'll keep all the good stuff. Let's see. All right, got some folks out there. Thanks for showing, guys. All right, so I'm gonna cut off this root end. Again, this is just an oddball piece of onion that I'm just gonna mince up. Sorry, let me get that for you. I'm turning it around and there's no peel left on this guy. And what I'm gonna do is just go across it. It's really falling apart. It's a funky centerpiece. I'll go across it one time. And then I just kind of lay it all flat and I'll go across it again. Kind of long ways, just to break it up. And then I kind of give everything a little shift. And I'm not really scraping my knife on the board. You guys see me cut a lot. And now I'm just going to go down the line. And after this, it's going to be a free-for-all. I'm just going to pull everything to the center. And this is mincing right here. This is when mincing starts. You can put your hand on top to steady it. When you do that, you want your hand completely flat. And I just need to mince this up a little bit for the first dressing because I'm going to use a blender for that. But my second dressing needs to be really fine. So I'm going to take a little bit of this. I just need about a tablespoon of this for my blue cheese. And I'm going to mince that up all the way for that blue cheese dressing. The rest of this will get blended in a blender. I hope that part isn't confusing. Na, 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 na. I always got music in my head. Oh, yes, oh, yes. It's been feeling good to get in a real kitchen the last couple of days, even with the situation, the horrible, horrible situation in here in Northern California. Okay, very well minced. I think I'll go through one more time. I'm really not trying to scrape that too heavily on the board. I'm very dainty with my scrapings. And so there is a bunch of red onion minced up for a blue cheese dressing that's coming up down the road. We're not worrying about that. You're not going to see that for another 10 minutes. All right. The rest of this, it's pretty rough, but that's okay because I'm going to throw this into a blender. Let me grab that blender right now. Now, earlier I mentioned that this mustard is one of the ingredients. This mustard has an ingredient called lecithin, or not an ingredient, but basically an element in there called lecithin. And that lecithin is going to help bring our dressing together. Onions naturally contain lecithin as well. So that is also going to help bring our dressing together. Other things that have lecithin in them, that contain lecithin, garlic contains lecithin. So when you're making aiolis and Caesar dressings, that garlic helps hold the whole dressing together. And another thing that has a lot of lecithin, probably the most common lecithin-laden ingredient, is going to be the incredible edible egg, okay? Or more specifically, the egg yolk, okay? In two of these dressings, the mayonnaise, which is a dressing, if you go up north to Canada, they call mayonnaise salad dressing. Did you guys know that? Okay, so that is going to have an egg yolk in it. The mayonnaise for our blue cheese dressing, and also the Caesar dressing is going to have an egg in that as well, which was classic in a classic Caesar dressing table side done. Very fancy. It's very nice, okay? So all I have is a tall, narrow cylinder, and I've thrown some red onion in there, okay? Next, I'm going to create my vinaigrette. Let me just do a quick rinse. Let's get that out of the way. Just moving things for the scene change there. So the next thing I want to bring in is my vinegar. Okay, so here's my peachy vinegar, and I think I'm probably going to make about a cup of this. And usually, let me get back up here. Usually when we're making a vinegar, we teach a ratio in culinary school right here. In fact, this is usually the first ratio that students come into contact with in a culinary school. And the ratio is for vinaigrette. It's usually 3 parts oil to 1 part vinegar, okay? And that's just a starting point. You don't just say 3 parts oil, 1 part vinegar, done, right? You got to do some tasting. And it's like, oh, we got to talk about that teeter-totter, that flavor balance, right? And so the thing is, different oils are heavier than others. Some light oils might, not be able to kind of tamp down certain vinegars, right? So you need more of that oil. On the other end of the spectrum, certain vinegars aren't as strong as other vinegars. That white and distilled vinegar and that distilled apple cider, that stuff's 5% acid. It's very strong stuff compared to this peachy vinegar that I have here. This peachy vinegar, I'm not going to use about a 3-to-1 ratio. It's probably going to be about 2-to-1. I'm not going to need a lot of fat to tamp down the acidity of this vinegar that I made. It's just a homemade vinegar. It's not real strong, and it ain't distilled, that's for sure. This is an unfiltered peach vinegar that I'm using. So what I'm going to do is toss in about an ounce or so in here, and we'll proceed from there. Let's do it, okay? So here's my peachy vinegar, and it's going in my container. I think I'll talk with a Virginia drawl for a little while here. No, I don't think I will. I think I'll stop right now. So there it is. I threw in about an ounce or 2 tablespoons, right? 1 ounce is 2 tablespoons. I got a little spillage there, so let me get that. Next thing I'm going to do, I mentioned those onions have lecithin. I also mentioned that mustard has a little lecithin in it too. So I'm going to just put in just a little dab, okay? Now, I don't want this to taste like hot dog dressing, okay? This is salad dressing, so the tiniest little bit of mustard. If you're not a mustard professional like myself, you might want to use a spoon to get it in there, okay? I'm just going to do a very mustard professional dollop in there. 1, 2, 3 drops, okay? 3 drops of mustard. That's it. It's a background thing. And then finally, the secret ingredient for this one, it's a peachy vinaigrette. And red onion also. This one lends itself well to sweetness. I'm just going to put in about 2 teaspoons, gosh, maybe a teaspoon, in fact, of a little bit of raw honey here going in the bottom, okay? I don't need to heat this. It'll melt in there. I'm trying to think of the word. Disintegrate. Okay. All right. If I wanted to mince up that red onion, by the way, I could just whisk all of this together. Now, so far I have honey in there. I've got red onion. I've got vinegar in there and some mustard, okay? A few other things. Let's throw in some salt now because everything's wet. This is a good time to dissolve my salt. Let's dissolve the salt now. So pinch of salt, it's going to be good. Salt and sweet are going in there, right? And the human animal loves salt and sweet. So I got a little of that. Hey, fresh cracked black pepper. I think I like cracked black pepper on my salads. I think I'm using black pepper in everything today. I know people get down on that from time to time, but I'm going to do it, okay? So salt and pepper just went in on top of vinegar, red onion, mustard, and honey, okay? And then finally, some little green thyme leaves, okay? I want to just strip some of those off and throw them on in. Some of these are kind of like thyme seeds and they're a little funky. So I'm just really getting the leaves here. And I'm going to let the blender blend those up because that's what blenders do. The blenders are going to blend it up. That's what blenders do, okay? So stripping thyme leaves, trying to do leaves and not seeds and whatnot. Some of my time went to seed there. Okay, so peachy thyme vinaigrette is coming up. There's about 1.5 ounces of ingredients in the bottom of this thing. Now, we are doing an emulsion here, and the big trick with emulsions is just adding oil very, very slowly. And, you know, most people, if they can get their hands on one, a squeeze bottle works very well. If you don't have a squeeze bottle, I recommend, you know, maybe just adding a little bit of oil at a time, okay? Also, we are going to deploy the one and only tiny little burr mixer. And I have to say just a word about this one. They don't make this one anymore. And I have had this thing for like 20 years and it has gone through thick and thin with me, restaurant lines, you name it. It's only been burned once, okay? And this thing still works. I've bought 3 new blenders nowadays and none of them come close to the torque of this one. So I am still using this old beat up beater blender. I love it. So what I'm going to do is get my blender down in there and I'm going to zip it up a little bit, but you can see I'm tilting. Let me get down here. I'm going to tilt this and I go up and down with this. I have a narrow container so I don't have to chase my ingredients around in a big giant bowl or something with this tiny little blender. All blenders are narrow, so that's by design. That way they can puree very, very effectively. So whenever I'm using one of these hand blenders, I like to get a tall, narrow cup for that thing. And I'm just gonna kind of blend that up, and it looks kind of gross and nasty and pink in there. It's weird, it's funky. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of oil in here, okay? And I just threw in a few drops in the beginning. In these early stages, you want to be a little careful with the amount of oil you're adding. We're going to talk about that in the next one. And I'm going to add a little more, just little bits, and blendy blend, and a little more. All I really need to do is get the oil blended together, everything in a homogeneous mixture. I guess what I'm saying is I don't need to continue going and going and going with that. Okay, a little more oil. And because this has so much torque to it, I can add more oil than I normally would. This is going to come together very quickly. I'm tilting it so you can kind of see, oh gosh, I don't think you can see in there very well. I'm adding a little more oil. And it doesn't take long to blend it. Now, the more oil, as I keep adding oil and this blends completely, you'll see emulsions get thicker and thicker. If this doesn't blend, it's just going to separate. And by the way, this isn't a permanent emulsion. This one is going to separate just like that vinaigrette in the bottle that I showed you earlier. Okay, this is a temporary emulsion. It's already coming apart. You know, every emulsion's constantly always coming apart. It wants to separate, but some of them are more temporary than others. Okay, so let me just kind of show you what this looks like so far. I'll get a little spoon and kind of show you what the consistency looks like if we can. Sorry, let me get this down here. So right now it's kind of on the thin side for a salad dressing. It's a little pink and it's not quite blended very well. And I'll tell you, when I put the blender in there, it's still not underneath the liquid, so it's still not working at its maximum efficiency. And because it's so loose like that, I'm going to continue adding oil. It's just not the right consistency. But later on, I'm going to want to kind of check that acidity of it and see if it's not all on the fat side. So let me just do a quick wipe. And we're going to work a little more oil in, and then we'll start going faster with this. Oh, it's good stuff. Hey, you get in a kitchen out in the biz, you know, you don't know how to make a vinaigrette. It's like, hey, I don't know, chef. How do you do that? 3-to-1, baby. They're just going to be like, come on, man. Come on. Okay, so we're back to it. I'm going to add a little more oil to this guy. Hey, you've probably seen this sort of thing on that fancy Real Food Network. Here I am, mixing it up. Just making sure it's blended. That's about how much blending I need to do. A little more oil, blend, blend. Now I tilt it. Now it's rolling in there. There's an angle. I'll go a little more. It's kind of thickening up slightly. It's a little heavier than heavy cream right now. And I think what I'll do is start to taste this, okay? So I'm going to go down in there now. I've been adding oil to it, and there's salt and vinegar and everything in there. And I'm going to get one little taste. So right now I got kind of a three-way game going here between acidity, sweetness, because I had the honey in there, and those red onions, they're pretty sweet, and the oil. I'm kind of happy with the oil, but I wish it was a little bit more tart. So I'm just going to add one more little drop of vinegar in this thing. My little peachy vinegar, okay? Now this one is not a super heavy vinaigrette. It's very light. I'll show you the consistency in one sec once I get this blended in, but I'm going to add maybe another ½ ounce. This is, I'll kind of admit, this is a little on the looser side just because my vinegar isn't as strong as something else you might normally be using. Like this is maybe 2% as opposed to like more of like a 5%, which is what those distilled vinegars are. Okay, so let me zip this on in here and we'll give it a little taste. See if I've got some acidity. You can see it rolling around in there. That's what we want. You want to see that flow going in there. Aerating it. And I don't think I'm going to get that blended a heck of a lot more than that. Let me get this rinsed off. Oh yes, oh yes. Good times, good times. A little wipe down. And what I'm going to do is pull a bowl over here so you guys can see the consistency. I think this will be a nice contrast against that pink. It'll look like Miami Beach, right? So before I pour it in, I may need to adjust this still, so I'd better taste it, right? So there's going to be a lot of tasting in this one. Oh yeah. So right now, I'm tasting thyme, I'm tasting red onion, I'm tasting my peachy vinegar, and I'm not really tasting the mustard because I don't really want to. The mustard's way, way back in the background. This is excellent. Now, like I said, the consistency of this is a little bit lighter than what you're probably used to seeing in vinaigrettes. I don't know, maybe not. But that is a creamy vinaigrette. Get it over there. There you can see it right there. You can kind of see the consistency as I pour. I'm gonna use the back of this spoon to draw through it. So it's pretty loose and light, but if I was serving dinner, this would certainly hold together for the entire meal and probably into tomorrow, okay? This will sit around for a few days. If I wanted to emulsify this further, I would probably add an egg yolk to it or something if I wanted this to hang out. Boy, this would be like a mayonnaise-y consistency if I did that, okay? But mainly this, what I want here is enough oil to adhere to the lettuce leaves and a good acid, fat, sweet balance. With a little thyme and a little pepper in the background. Oh, that's quite delicious. Yes. Okay. So that's my first one. Okay. Let's see if anybody else is out there. Looking good. We got some people watching. I'm going to take another sip and we're going to get into the next thing here. We're going to make a more of a stable or permanent emulsion, if you will. This is just going to be a mayonnaise, which we're going to make a creamy salad dressing out of. Prost, guys. Cheers. You're watching Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour. It's good to get back in the kitchen. I had a guest last week and I didn't cook, and I just feel like I haven't cooked in like forever for you guys, okay? Here we go. Here we go. It's quite delicious. I'm liking my country wine. It's actually, in the afternoons, I've been drinking on ice too, and that's very nice. So one dressing down, 2 to go. Next one up, a creamy blue cheese. It's essentially making a mayonnaise, adding a creamy ingredient and some flavor ingredients, really, and you can make any creamy dressing out there. Let's see. I think that's all cleared up. And let's see, for the next one, mayonnaise. I'm gonna want a bowl. I'm gonna make this one old school. I'm going to want a whisk. Let me get this down here. And I'm going to want 1 egg that I'm going to pull the yolk out of. So I need a yolk. I am going to use, right now I'm just talking about mayonnaise. Now, this is an optional ingredient. I might use another drop of mustard in this. Again, it's not necessary. Some people leave it out entirely. I like to just throw a little in. It's just a little more lecithin to help me bring this mayonnaise together, okay? But this is absolutely optional. It's very, very much a background thing, okay? Let's see. My acid for this one, I'm going to be using some lemon for this. And I am going to be using salt. And I like a cayenne pepper for this stage. So I'll be using that. I don't like to use the black pepper in a mayonnaise. So that is just the mayonnaise portion for it now. And so let's put it all together, okay? Now, the first thing I'm gonna do is put together my acid and salt and all of that business, okay? My acid in this one, again, I was gonna use lemon, but I can use vinegar too. I'm just gonna use a white vinegar. Let me see what I got here. I wanted to kind of play with a few vinegars. Here's a rice vinegar, okay? Yeah, brand new. Let me crack this guy. I just decided to do this, sorry. I was going to do lemon and then maybe I need more lemon for something else. So let's just use a little rice vinegar for this, very common. And again, I want to emphasize when we are making a mayonnaise, this is a blend of it's mostly oil and we need some acidity to break up that fat. That's what mayonnaise is all about. If I have a mayonnaise and there's no acidity to it, it's just sitting on my tongue. It's oil and egg yolk. No, thank you, right? And besides, if you've got a sauce that's just oil and egg yolk, I don't know what you're emulsifying. There's no water phase to it. And I've kind of seen people do that. They'll just throw yolk and oil together, but it's not really an emulsion. Okay, so I was going to start out with a little bit of white vinegar. And I have a general rule. I use about, I think about how many yolks I'm using. And in this one, I'm going to be using 1 yolk. I use about a ½ ounce of liquid, acid, whatever it is, for every yolk that I do. So if I'm making more mayonnaise, I'm going to use a ½ ounce for 1 yolk. 2 yolks, I'm going to use a full ounce, right? And so on and so forth, okay? And so here it is, about a ½ ounce. That's a tablespoon of vinegar. You'll hear me use, by the way, you'll hear me use the term acid a lot. You can use vinegar here. You can use lemon, any acid, right? Other citrus. This is about making an emulsion. It's not about a recipe for mayonnaise necessarily. All right, all right. Okay, so I've got vinegar in my bowl. I like to melt my salt and I like to throw in my cayenne at this point. I don't want to just have a yolk in the bowl and then throw salt in it. That is going to kind of clump up the eggs, okay? You want to avoid that. I don't want to go into depth on that, but trust me, you don't like it. I'm going to throw in a pinch of cayenne, okay? I don't want a Cajun mayonnaise here, just a tiny, tiny little pinch, okay? And that is my salt and pepper for this dish, okay? It's floating around in my vinegar. Another thing I want to add, I'm going to just use this mayonnaise again as an extra stabilizer. Okay, so it's got a little lecithin in it. And again, I'm using maybe, less than a teaspoon here. Okay, it's just a little extra. Quarantine kitchen happy hour, yada, yada. Back to it. So I'm going to stir those up, blend it. And that gives my salt a chance to dissolve in there. I don't want to add salt at the end of this thing because then I get salt crystals sitting in the mayonnaise and they don't want to dissolve very readily, okay? While this is dissolving, I'm going to crack this yolk. Or don't crack the yolk, crack the egg. I should point out, I just felt it. This egg is room temperature. All of your emulsions work best at room temperature. Since this isn't cooking, a little bit of egg white in here is not going to hurt. If I was doing a hollandaise, I want to get all that white out of here. Okay, so there's a clean yolk. And I've got a little bit. I'm going to save these whites. I got another one coming up. All right, Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour coming at you. We're on dressing number 2. We're actually making a mayonnaise here, okay? So I'm going to stir that yolk in there. And this is the base for my mayonnaise. This is kind of my water phase with a yolk in it. Again, what I have in there was salt, cayenne pepper, a little bit of white vinegar. It could have been lemon juice, so some kind of acid product, and a yolk, okay? I'm going to go ahead and blend this. A lot of chefs will tell you to blend this until it's fluffy and foamy, but as you add oil, you're going to drive the air right out of this thing. In my opinion, you really don't need to do a heck of a lot to this thing in the beginning. Get it blended and then start making your mayonnaise, okay? So it's pretty much blended. That's about as much as I ever do, and you're going to see a functioning mayonnaise, okay? Now, as we are working with emulsions, we want to add a small amount of oil. We want to blend that in and then add another amount of oil and blend that in, another amount of oil. The point here is add oil and blend it in and then add the next oil. I will see culinary students put oil in and sit there for 20 minutes whisking this thing if I don't stop them, okay? Put the oil in, it takes you about 5 seconds and then you can put the next oil in, okay? It looks like this. So here's the first couple of drops and I whisk it in. I might travel around the bowl. I call it spin and sweep, okay? And there's not a single drop of oil in there. It's in. I'm going with the next one. Couple drops, blend it in. All the way around, spin and sweep. I spin and sweep about every other time. Another drop. That's how fast this should be. In these early stages, I'm using very small amounts of oil here. Once I establish an emulsion, a functioning emulsion, you'll see me start barreling with that oil. Tiny drops. There's 4 ingredients in there. 5, salt, cayenne, vinegar, yolk, and now I'm adding oil. We're making mayonnaise. Couple drops at a time. It's whisked in there. It took me that long. Next oil. 1, 2, 3. It took me about 3 to 4 seconds to get that oil blended. Next oil. This will save you so much time. You do not need to sit there whisking mindlessly for 20 minutes in between each oil addition. I'm going to start going faster now. It's starting to look creamy. It's holding together. You guys see that? Now, someone mentioned earlier about something about breaking a mayonnaise. If this starts looking separated, in other words, like you've got oil slicks in there and it's like egg yolk all sinks to the bottom, you've broken this thing. What you want to do is get a new bowl, put a new yolk in it, and start blending this stuff in a few drops at a time into a new yolk, and you'll save it, okay? You're gonna have kind of a eggy mayonnaise, but you'll save it. Okay, so it's starting to get creamy. I mentioned earlier that as this starts coming together, you can start being a little more aggressive with the oil. So this time I'm gonna throw in about a tablespoon. See that? Okay. And I'm gonna kind of stir it in slowly. I'm over on one side, and then I just kind of work it in. I start moving across. It's all in there, another tablespoon. Now it's going fast. I'm gonna keep going. I wanna talk about something here. Here goes some more oil, okay? But earlier I mentioned, for every yolk that I put in there, you're gonna need about a ½ ounce of liquid. I used vinegar today, right? That acidy vinegar. For every yolk, you can get about 6 to 8 ounces of oil in there. I'm usually looking for about 8. Any less than that, and it's just really, really eggy on your palate, okay? It's just like raw egg. Nobody wants that, right? So I want that nice ratio of fat in there. If my students would just whisk in like 2 ounces of oil, I would just taste it and I'm like, oh, dude, you gotta get the rest of your oil in there. It's just a big old egg yolk on my palate here. Okay, let me get back to it here. And so I just threw in another couple tablespoons when you guys weren't watching. And I have a functioning emulsion roll in here. There's another tablespoon. I start on the other side of the bowl and slowly draw it in. Another thing, you'll see cooks, 2 cooks, you know, 1 cook pouring oil into this thing, right? I don't know that that's necessary. Look at this trick. I just poured a bunch in and I start on the other side and slowly draw it in. You don't need a second person for this. The idea is you're just not dumping vast quantities of oil in at once. Got a little spill there. But we almost got mayonnaise. It's looking pretty creamy. It's kind of got a little glare on the in the set here. We're going to talk to Daryl, the studio manager, about that. See if he can work on some better lighting situations. Been meaning to talk to Daryl, I'll tell you. All right, still making mayonnaise here, folks. I'm adding another tablespoon or so. And I'm starting on one side and working my way across. Every tablespoon I add makes it slightly thicker. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? Oil is liquid. Why is it making it thinner? Or why is it making it thicker? It's bonding with that water and it's congealing. It's getting thicker. It's amazing. And I'm going still a tablespoon at a time. That looks like really thin mayonnaise right there. Oops, I poured in too much. Hey, no big deal. You see how aggressive I get with that oil? But you can't do that in the beginning. You have to get a stable, functioning emulsion first. And I got a bunch of oil in this thing. And I'm working it in slowly. It's all over on that far side there. It's awesome. Hey, it just got a little thicker. What do you know? Another little drop of that. And I don't really need to get this super thick. I do want it to look like mayonnaise. Still a little thin. La la la. Oh yeah, this is just like egg salad soiree. If you want more mayo information, check out egg salad soiree on YouTube. Industry cooking channels. Something. And I'm starting to get to where it's holding its shape. It's starting to, it's not quite industrial strength, but when I draw a whisk through, it's starting to leave channels in it a little bit. I'm going to keep on going. I think I'm going to give it another taste too. I want to see where the acid is. I want to see where the salt is. So it's kind of like runny mayonnaise right now. You guys get it. I'm going to taste this. I used to taste so much mayonnaise in culinary school. It was so gross. Mayonnaise, hollandaise. Oh. Okay. This guy has plenty of salt. I don't need to add any more of that. I wouldn't mind a little more acidity to this thing, so I am going to hit it with a little bit of lemon juice. That rice vinegar is a little bit mild, so let me get a lemon here. And a fork. And some of you might have seen this trick before. I have the fork in there, and I squeeze the lemon while the fork goes back and forth. I keep it upright so no seeds fall into the bowl. And I'm just adding a little acidity. This is seasoning I'm doing right here, okay? This is no different than adding salt to the bowl, okay? I'm seasoning right now. Acid is a part of the seasoning process, right? That's what I'm tasting right now. We're looking for a flavor balance between acid, salt, and fat at this point. Let me blend in that last bit of lemon, and we're gonna taste this, see where it's going here, see if I'm happy with that. I still feel like I need to blend in more acid, and since I got that lemon in there, I'm sorry, I want to blend in more oil. Since I got the lemon in there, now I can fit more oil in. Yeah, it's super lemony, and that gives me an excuse to add more oil, thus making the mayonnaise thicker. That's where I want to go with this. By the way, I should say I've probably gotten in about 4.5 ounces of oil here, and I'm shooting for 6 to 8 here. I'm going to add a little more oil. Nope. And I'm doing big amounts. By the way, other chefs, that's a big no-no in culinary school to do big amounts like that. I had to whisper that stuff into my students' ears. I couldn't say it out loud. Oops, chef. Look at all that oil I'm dumping in right now, okay? It all just sinks to the bottom. I work on one side, and it slowly gets worked in. La, la, la. And this way I can kind of crank this stuff out. Otherwise, I'm doing a drop or two at a time. And now I'm over to the other side. It's much thicker. I've just added more volume to it. So now that acidity and that salt is going to be diluted a little bit. I'm going to take another taste. And we've got ourselves a mayonnaise. I'm actually feeling pretty good about that. We are going to be seasoning up our final blue cheese here in just a minute. I will say this is a little looser than I would normally make. Let me get a better shot of this. Looser than I'd normally make, but we're going to be making a salad dressing out of that. If I want this thicker, all I'm going to do is be burning up oil to make it thicker, and then later on when I make a salad dressing, I got to thin it out with something. So I'd rather make this mayonnaise a little on the thin side and then start my blue cheese dressing. It just makes sense, okay? And so making a dressing, mayonnaise consistency, looking pretty good. You could almost put that on a salad right there, okay? Like the Canadians do out here. All right, so what I'm going to do is set this aside, and we're going to start a blue cheese in a separate bowl, okay? Blue cheese dressing is next. Do a little wipe down again. My table bugs me, you know, when it gets a little dirty. So I'm going to pull out some ingredients to play with. Let me get my cutting board back. I think, no, actually, I don't think I need any. I don't need that for this. I need it for the next. So for this one, blue cheese dressing, we are using a little bit of the mustard again. Maybe. I'm going to use red wine vinegar actually for this one. I'm going to put in a tiny bit of Worcestershire or Worcestershire, however you guys say that. Okay. And I got some blue cheese, of course. I got a little trick to break that out. Sorry. Blue cheese, boom. And today, instead of yogurt, what I usually do at my house, instead of like sour cream for a blue cheese dressing, I tend to use yogurt. I'm using a 0% fat-free yogurt. This is what the family usually buys for applications like this. So this is going to be a very tangy blue cheese because I've got all this acidity in here, okay, from this yogurt. Much more acidic, in my opinion, than a sour cream. So let's just kind of put a few things aside here, and you can kind of see those ingredients. Again, I'll be adding probably a little black pepper, a little bit of salt to this if needed. There's my blue cheese, yogurt, mustard, a little red wine vinegar just for taste, okay? A little Lee and Perrins Worcestershire or some other Worcestershire, black pepper and salt. That's everything, okay? I'm gonna get a new bowl. Right there, okay? And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to break up my blue cheese in this nice clean bowl, okay? So what I have here are just a couple of little chunks of blue cheese, and I think I want to, now where did I put it? Right there. I'm going to run them through just this little mesh screen right here to break them out, break them up. And because blue cheese is stinky, I'm going to use this little piece of plastic wrap on top of them as I push them through, okay? I don't want to get that on my hand. So I stick the cheese right there, and I push it on through. Plastic wrap is keeping it from getting on my hand too much. There it goes. Crumbles up beautifully. I use this with goat cheese. I use it with avocados for guacamole. I was using it for cojita cheese in the kitchen yesterday. That white Mexican cheese, crumbly, feta cheese. Eggs for egg salad. In fact, I did this during egg salad soiree. Probably the greatest show industry cooking classes has ever offered to the public. Egg salad soiree. Check it out. All right. So that blue cheese saved me from getting a smell tattoo on my hand. Okay. And I'm just going to knock the rest of that on through. And that's how I crumble up cheese, okay? Beautiful little chunks. And you're gonna see those chunks in my finished dressing. It's awesome. Nice. What a super crumble. Next, I'm gonna add in my yogurt. Oh, I already pulled up the paper on that. So just a few spoonfuls. I'm just making a few cups, about a cup of this. The yogurt is chunky. This is one solid culture right here. And so what you're going to want to do, and I think I'm going to save a little yogurt for other purposes. But what you're going to want to do is kind of blend this yogurt while it's still thick. I want to get this smooth. Oh, I got to wipe down here. Got a little yogurt on me. So here we go. And there it is. Whoa. And so I want to get all that broken up. Do this with sour cream too, especially sour cream, because sour cream is like set with like gelatin and stabilizer. You want to break that stuff up. Otherwise, it's super chunky when it all goes together. At this point, I can add other things to kind of lighten this. See how thick it is? So this is where I'm going to add just a dash of red wine vinegar. Maybe like a capful of this to thin that out a little. And give it a little more tang. I like a tangy blue cheese. A little Worcestershire. This is like liquid pepper with another shot of vinegar in it. A lot of umami in there too. Oh, another thing I wanted to blend in here. Remember, I minced up some red onion earlier. This is so far sour cream, sour cream or yogurt. Blue cheese is in here, red wine vinegar and Worcestershire, and I just added a little red onion. And I'm going to crack in some black pepper. I'm going to blend all this together, and I'm going to adjust it with mayonnaise. We're going to taste it, and we're going to have some blue cheese, baby. I'm telling you. Now it's just got a little off color. That'll lighten up. The chunky stuff. I'm going to switch over to my rubber spatula. To blend that. A little off color. That's all right. It's going to lighten up in 1 second. Okay, all of that is blended. I blended all that just because that yogurt was so chunky and heavy, right? I didn't want to just blend the liquidy stuff in there, the mayonnaise in there too early. I would never be able to get the chunks blended. And so I'm going to take about a third of this, or maybe a little more than half, actually. 2/3 is what I meant to say. And I'll blend that together. Small bowl here. And there it is, my blue cheese dressing, tangy blue. It's going to be a little bit peppery from all that Worcestershire. And by the way, this is a good blue. This is a Point Reyes Bay blue. This is their little aged model. It's very similar to Roquefort. If you ever see Roquefort dressing, it is a little bit off color from other flavorings going on in there. Now, I haven't tasted this yet. I'm probably going to say it needs more black pepper because I like a lot of black pepper in mine. Oh, yeah. I think what I would like is just another crack of salt in this. I think that is what is needed. Just not quite enough salt to bring out the flavors, and I will definitely taste my cheese a lot more when I bring in that salt. And by the way, you didn't see me really season that mayonnaise much at the end of the process. I figured I'd be doing a lot of my seasoning right here. By the way, this looks very thick, like a blue cheese dressing. All I did was just kind of stir that salt in there. I need to wait 30 seconds. I was killing time talking. I'm going to give that another try. I have had so many conversations over the years with students, probably every student I've ever had, about what salt does in a dish. That dressing was completely flat. I just put a tiny bit of salt in there. I'm still getting the little crystals melting on my tongue. They're still not quite blended in there, but the blue cheese is just like on steroids now. It's really, really coming through, where before it was just like, hello, I'm back here. Hello, in the back of the room. A little bit of salt, and all of a sudden it's just like, boom, there it all is. All of those flavors are coming out at me. Salt brings those flavors out. One of the toughest things there was to teach was getting students to consistently taste and season their food. Flavor balance. I'm just going to eat this whole bowl of dressing. I need some wings. Oh my, that's delicious. I'm very pleased with my blue cheese dressing. This is awesome. Let me bowl that up. 2 dressings down. We're going for 1 more right after this. It's we're just finishing up on the first hour. We're going to be done in about 20 minutes here. Oh yes, oh yes. Blue cheese dressing. I'm going to throw it in a blue bowl. And by the way, these dressings are probably good for, you know, a good week. I'll be doing a Caesar later tonight. I'm not making dinner with you guys. I'm just doing dressings here. This is dressing day. All right, a beautiful blue cheese dressing, and I'm super happy with it. It's really good. Rinse a few things. I need a scene change here. Alrighty. And back. All right. So this next dish is going to work a lot like the one you just saw. Okay, we're going to be doing a Caesar salad. I need to mince up a few ingredients for this one, get them in a bowl, and then I'm going to add a yolk to it. We're going to add a bunch of oil to it, and the acid for this one, or the vinegar portion, whatever you want to call it, is going to be lemon. Okay, we're going to finish this one with some cheese, and it's going to be delicious. So let's get a few things going first. Okay. Now for this one, here's my little mat. I need my little slippy mat here. Okay, so for a Caesar salad, I'm going to break open some anchovy fillets. I'm going to need an egg and some lemon for this. I need some garlic. I've already peeled that. You guys have seen me peel garlic a million times if you've ever seen these classes. I can add that mayonnaise as a I can add that mustard as a stabilizer again in this one. So I think I will. Let's see. And I'm going to need some olive oil. Let me refill my oil bottle here. And what I'm going to do, I don't want to use like extra virgin olive oil. I'm just using like just plain pure olive oil. I'm using Star. It's commodity olive oil. It's just a bottle somebody gave me, so I'm using it up. But we want light oil here. What I'm going to do is probably add a little finish oil in the end. I've got a nice local extra virgin olive oil to finish this, but I don't want to do extra virgin olive oil for this whole thing. It'll be super expensive, first of all, and it'll be way too strong on the flavor there. So I want a light oil for this one, and maybe just a finish of extra virgin, okay? And you don't want to put the extra virgin in first. You want to finish with it. You could blend it in your regular oil if you wanted to. In fact, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll blend it. There's a good idea. So yeah, I'm putting together a little pure olive oil, and I'm just going to throw in about 1 ounce of an extra virgin, just to give us a little of that olive oil flavor, but I don't want a lot. I'm cheating. Ladies and gentlemen, Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour, we cheat. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy. Right. All right. I'm going to pull a few things off the board here. Oh, one other ingredient before I do. There's my oil. I'm still getting these together. Let me get this back. And then another ingredient, or two, actually 2 ingredients that I must taste. I must taste Parmesan cheese in my Caesar, and also, whoops, black pepper. And those are all my ingredients. I'm going to do them again. I've got anchovy, garlic, oil, lemon, yolk, egg yolk, Parmesan cheese, black pepper, okay, and optional mustard on the side. So I'm going to start building this just like I built my Caesar salad, okay? I'm just going to toss a few of my flavoring ingredients in here first of all. And one of those flavoring ingredients is my garlic, okay? So I'll get that going. And I've got about, gosh, I'm just going to do about 2.5 cloves here. I always go too much for my wife. I'll go 2 cloves. She told me not to overdo it, okay? Now for these cloves, I'm going to kind of puree them. So I'm going to do the old salt trick with this. I'm going to put a little salt on here. I'm going to smash these cloves. Let me move a few things. I'm going to smash the cloves, and then I'm going to drop them in the bowl. Or smash the cloves, chop them, then drop them. I'm sorry, guys. I'm thinking about too much at once here. So we're chopping garlic. We've got salt on the board. I've smashed it. I ran my knife through it, and I'm smashing it again. Smash it 2 times. And I bring it all to the center again. I run my knife through twice, and I bring it down, bring the edge down again, and smash it. And this garlic is essentially pureed at this point. I'm going to run my knife through it 1 more time, bring it all to the center, and away we go. And that's about all that's going to need. It's not going to get any more fine than that, okay? So 2 cloves of garlic is what I'm starting out with. Get it all in there. Let me just wipe down real quick. That garlic's sticky. Gotta get it up. All right, we got a nice clean board, and we're ready to go for the next round here. So it's gonna be good. Gonna be good. I can go ahead and work in my, I think I'll do my Parmesan cheese next, actually. Now this cheese is not going in the bowl right now, but I got to get it chopped up. I don't want those big, the pieces, I used a microplane for this, and the pieces are kind of big. So I want to just run my knife through them, and then I'm going to add this cheese at the end. So this is just kind of a quickie little prep thing. And I did want to show you that because microplanes, it's just the pieces are too big to go in a salad dressing. And a lot of people are using microplanes for everything. So I'm just going to mince it up really quick. Same motion I was using for the garlic and for the red onions today. Just break that cheese down a little bit. You want it to blend in the dressing. You don't want pieces of cheese and you're straining through your teeth. It'd be weird. I don't know what music you guys got in your head, but I always got the funk. Okay, so I've minced up that cheese a little bit, and that'll blend much nicer at the end. That needed to happen. And I wanted you guys to see that. All right. Another wipe down. Get it all up. And I think the next thing that I will get in there is some lemon juice. Okay, so I've got that lemon I was using earlier. There's still juice in there. And here's my fork, and I'm going back and forth. I'm watching for seeds. I haven't seen a seed yet in this one. And I'm doing a 1 yolk Caesar dressing here. So I need a good 1/2 ounce of liquid here, maybe a bit more. And so that's about a tablespoon, going a little bit more, and that's about an ounce right there. Ooh, maybe I did a little too much. That's all right. We're gonna make this good. All right, so wiping down all that excess lemon juice. Right now, all I have in the bowl is garlic and lemon. I chopped up my cheese. I am gonna crack some pepper in here, black pepper. And I got it pretty rough there. Let me tighten that up. And I like a lot of black pepper. I want to taste pepper in this dressing. So far, garlic, lemon juice, pepper. I'm going to blend some salt in here as well. And I'm not going to do, I don't think you guys can see that very well. I'm not going to do too much salt because I am adding a fairly salty ingredient next. And that ingredient is my anchovy. So let me break these guys out. It's just a baby can. They're so cute. And I don't really want that oil. These are nice clean fillets. And I was worried I might have to clean these guys in front of you. How embarrassing. Dirty anchovies. Let me get rid of that. And I'm going to take about 2 of these little guys. And I'll be eating some of these with my dinner later. These are kind of nice. Nice little ones. The white anchovies are stellar. That's how I got into anchovies, is when I started eating the white anchovies. So there's 2 anchovies. And I want to mince them up too, okay? You're getting kind of a common theme. I don't want any big pieces in my teeth. So let me kind of cut those in half and go across them with my blade. Sometimes the anchovies have bones in them and you need to pick them out. That's what I was kind of referencing. I thought I might have to clean these guys. And I want this to be a paste, so I'm going to smash this as well. Pull it apart. You know how fish flakes apart, and that just pureed it using the side of my blade like that. So that was 2 dinky little anchovies in there. They're going to be kind of a background flavor, but I want to taste them. If I'm doing a Caesar, I mean, you need that in there. So there they are. They're going in. Anchovies, garlic, lemon juice, black pepper. That's all I got so far. More anchovy. A little more. Let me rinse off this board, or it's going to have a smell tattoo. A lot of smell tattoos today. All right. Let's see, cheese is off to the side. Next item is my yolk. My yolk is going in. Remember, I kind of got everything in my bowl last time and then put my yolk into that one too. There's another egg white in here. Oh dear. I think I schmutzed myself. Oh dear. And just going back and forth a few times. Again, if you got a little egg white in a dressing, it's not a big deal. If you're doing a hollandaise, you don't want that egg white in there. It'll scramble on you. All right. So let me get my whisk again. And before I really start, let me move this. It's going to topple. I'm worried I'm going to topple something there. Okay, so there it is, folks. Now this one, again, I don't need to whip air into this. Some chefs will tell you to whisk the daylights out of it. I don't think it's necessary. You're going to drive the air out as you work oil in. In the case of hollandaise, when we're applying heat, that's where I'm going to be developing air, okay? I want to get a ribbon stage. I want air in that because I want hollandaise light and fluffy. Mayonnaise is cold, it can't hold air, but the warm egg yolks can hold that air in a hollandaise, or a Béarnaise, or a Maltaise, or a Charon. They're all hot emulsion sauces. All right, so I've got everything blended together, and we are simply going to start blending in my oil mixture. Remember, this is mostly just pure olive oil with a little bit of extra virgin in there, okay? As we did with the last one, I'm going to start with about 2 or 3 drops. I'm going to whisk it in. I kind of want a shorter whisk. Let me trade whiskers here. Let me trade whiskers. Well, that thing was too big. It's going to fall out of that bowl. Okay, everything's there. I am adding a little bit more oil. So just a few drops in the beginning. We're going to keep doing that until it starts looking like a mayonnaise with chunks in it. Got a little spill there. Sorry, guys. And again, it shouldn't take more than about 3 seconds to whisk this in. Once it's in, do it again. By the way, traditional Caesar salad is usually done table side. They break all these ingredients out into a wooden bowl. They smash up the anchovy with a fork in a wooden bowl. The garlic is just rubbed on the wooden bowl, actually. I like a little more garlic in mine. And then they just start working in some beautiful olive oil to make a Caesar dressing. Now, I added my oil in a little quickly that time. I need to slow it down in these early stages, just a few drops. Right now, this is just looking like a vinaigrette. It's all loose. Looks like it wants to come apart practically. Oh no, if this thing breaks, oh gosh, what would I do? We talked about that. If this separates, grab a fresh bowl, throw a yolk in it, and start working the broken dressing into that yolk. And you can just pull it all together. Still in the early stages, it doesn't look like an emulsion yet. Just going slow with this oil. Couple of seconds, next oil. And adding another oil, blending it in. I'm leaving my cheese out until the end, but you really could have had it in earlier. It just kind of gives you a strange sense of thickness, so I leave it until the end. So it's starting to look a little creamier, so I'm adding the oil slightly faster, but I'm taking a little more time to get it in. I'm still really not looking at an emulsion here. Still loose. And a little shiny. Another little drop. There, now it's starting to kind of look creamy. And working it in. This is just like the mayonnaise, guys. Same thing. By the way, can I use a food processor for this? You better believe it. That's how we're doing it in a restaurant. But if I can make it in a bowl, hey, it's no big deal to make it in a food processor. It's the exact same thing. You're just saving a few steps. You don't need to mince everything up quite so much. Working it in, starting to get it's about the consistency of heavy cream right now. I'm speeding up on the oil here. I can add a little more at a time. And it's in. And a little more at a time. Whisk it, whisk it, whisk it. And it's in. Oh yeah, loving it. Boom. I did about a tablespoon that time. I'm working on the opposite side of the bowl. Whoa, 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 baby. Slow it down, chef. Bad chef. And about another tablespoon. Oh, you know what I didn't add is my mustard. Let me throw a little drop of mustard in there. I like that. And again, this is just kind of a background thing. A little bit of a stabilizer too. It's a little bit of a cheat. All right, now a little more oil. There goes about a tablespoon again. Getting thicker. I'm starting to see tracks in it. All the oil's on one side. I'm working the other side, slowly drawing it in. I'm doing it again. Uh-oh, that was about an ounce of oil that time, 2 tablespoons. I'm on the other side, slowly drawing it in. getting thicker up top. You can see I'm doing the emulsion up in the top. The bottom's still a little loose. It's all coming together though, and my circles get wider and wider till it's all there. I'm gonna give it a little taste, see where I am. Really big garlic, really big lemon. I got to keep working oil to tone those flavors down. Whew, that's pretty strong right now. Hey, I can add a little of the parm in there too. Kind of tone things down a little bit. Again, in a food processor, this just blends right in. Oh dear. Salad just went flying. It's looking a little chunky now. But you guys can still get the idea. Let me do a little wipe. But yeah, I gotta work some more oil into this thing. It just got really thick when I added that cheese to it. Now it looks like Caesar dressing. It's not so mayonnaise-y anymore. It's a little creamier looking, dressing-y. I think I needed a good amount of oil here. I'm going to give that another try. One more oil, and we'll do it again. Another ounce. It's a little heavy, but it's super acidic. This is a great thing to talk about. If I keep trying to work more fat into this thing, I can break it. There's only like one yolk in there and everything, and it can only hold so much, right? And so what I can do is thin it a little bit and then keep working in oil because it's super acidic right now and it's a little bit salty and garlicky and all of that, right? So rather than thin it with acid, I taste it. It tells me it needs to tone the acid down. I'm going to use water in this case. Usually warm water is better than cold. I kind of mentioned earlier your ingredients are best at room temperature or maybe even slightly warmish for these emulsions. So let me get just a drop of water. Just a drop, okay? Show you this. And I'm going to thin it slightly. And that's going to allow me to keep working oil in here. Because it was just getting a little heavy with the oil. So there's some more oil, blending it in. By the way, that water just kind of stabilized the whole thing too. It's looking great. And I'll work a little more oil. And as I keep adding this oil, it keeps getting thicker. And I'm going to taste it after this. We might be looking pretty good. I'm looking for a functioning Caesar salad dressing that I can use on dinner tonight. Yeah. So I'm looking for lemon juice. And I asked myself, hey, Dave, are you tasting lemon juice? And it's like, yeah, I'm getting lemon. If you want more lemon without the acid, add some zest to this thing too. And you'll get little flecks of lemony bits in there that'll pop on your customers or your guests' palate, right? Next thing, can I taste that black pepper? No, I could use a little more because I'm a big fan of the black pepper on this one. Some people don't like too much black pepper in their dressing. If I'm at home, I put it in. If I'm in a restaurant, we let the servers put that black pepper on the salad at the table. But yeah, I got my black pepper flavor in there now. Okay, or I haven't tasted it, but I guarantee it's better now. So I got my lemon, I got my black pepper. It's got a nice little afterburn actually. I can definitely taste my Parmesan cheese. I could throw in the rest of that cheese. There's not much. That won't hurt anything. I also taste my garlic, and it's not so much garlic that my wife's going to be upset, but I definitely taste it. And then finally, the fifth flavor in this thing was anchovy. And I'm asking myself, hey, do I taste anchovy? And I'm like, yeah, and it's not too much. It's just in the very, very background. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got ourselves a nice little Caesar dressing that's going to be good for the week, okay? I'll pour that in a bowl and show you the 3 dressings that we have. And we'll do a little recap. That's flowing. I could keep adding oil to this and acid. going back and forth until I make more or till I get it thicker. But I really think that's kind of nice. If it's too thick and we're throwing it on a salad, it's really hard to toss. I tend to thin my dressings when I get them. I think personally, the dressing industrial complex makes their dressing thicker so you use more on every salad. That's what I think, right? Don't you guys always thin your salads too? So I've got my Caesar in the pink bowl. I've got a blue cheese dressing in the blue bowl, which kind of makes sense. And then in the turquoise bowl, I have a pink red onion, peachy thyme vinaigrette is what I was going to call that one. 3 different vinaigrettes, okay? That first one, it was an unemulsified vinaigrette, the peachy thyme vinaigrette. It was just oil and peach vinegar. It was a little bit of thyme. I put a tiny bit of red onion in there, and I put a tiny bit of mustard in there to hold that together. The final little step in that one was just a tiny bit of honey to sweeten that guy. This guy's good on like the steakhouse salads and things like that, wedge salads with the tomatoes and things like that. Very, very nice. The blue cheese dressing, that started out as a mayonnaise, which was just a little bit of, I used a white vinegar, but it could have been lemon juice, a little bit of salt and cayenne. I added a yolk to that, and then I just worked in enough oil to make a nice light mayonnaise consistency because I was making a salad dressing. And then I broke up some blue cheese into some yogurt. I added a little red onion to that, a dash of Worcestershire, another dash of red wine vinegar because that's kind of yummy with things like, you know, I think of this blue cheese as like going with a steak a salad next to a steak or something like that. So I really like that red wine flavor going with that. And then finally, the Caesar dressing, okay? 5 big flavors in that. It was lemon, it was garlic, it was black pepper, it was Parmesan, and it was anchovy. I think I put a little salt in there, but very little. And I think that was about all that went in there. If you don't know what a Caesar salad dressing should taste like, ask yourself that question. Do I taste those 5 flavors when I'm done with this? And if you don't, hey, add more, okay? Add more of whatever's missing, right? Let me see if I missed anything, right? Sure. Yeah, gosh, we went through these 3 dressings. We talked about emulsions, a homogenous mixture of 2 incompatible liquids. We did these dressings, and I'm going to make a little dinner out of them at the end. Next Thursday on Between Two Stoves, I've got a Between the Two Stoves coming up. It's going to be awesome. I got Chef Stephanie that's coming on. She's going to do crepes. She does really cool, like rustic looking crepes that I've seen, you know, just like, oh, I love that stuff, that rustic looking stuff, right? She is awesome. I just love working with her, and she's a blast. And so I'll be drinking a little country wine maybe while she's drinking her wine and showing us how to throw down a little crepe. Outside of that, don't forget, World Central Kitchen still needs donations. They still need volunteers. I'm going to be going back out there tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. I don't know, but I'm helping as much as I can when I'm not doing this. Okay, so please give them a shout out. If you can go to worldcentralkitchen.org and you can sign up. It's super, super easy. If you're able to go to Vacaville, Northern California area, it's just right off the freeway. So easy to get to. You're nowhere near the fires or anything, and you just go in. Very nice kitchen, and we just start cranking out food for first responders and people that have been displaced. It's awesome. It's a great feeling, and you meet a ton of awesome people, chef people, and everything. So I urge you to get down there if you can, but if not, crack open the wallet and start sending money. Everything these guys brings in is going to good things. I'm telling you, I've seen it over and over again working with these guys, and you guys, I'm sure, see it when they're working around the world. So please crack open the wallets and send them a little donation if you can. Outside of that, you'll be seeing me this Thursday. I look forward to it. Don't forget to be true to your food, and also don't forget that the party is always in the kitchen. That's going to do it for me today. Thanks, guys, for showing up. That was Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour.